The Vierks coalition had fought wars before. Entire planets had burned under their fleet's fire. They had treaties, technology, and rules of engagement. And yet, against the Karax swarm, all of that seemed useless. The swarm was not a race. It was a force. A machine intelligence that spread across stars like a virus, consuming everything in its path. Planets fell faster than Vierks reinforcements could arrive, and entire fleets vanished before the alarms could even sound. Desperate, the Vierks sent out a distress signal, a simple, coded message broadcast into deep space. They hoped for aid, even a single ship. "Any species out there, hear us," the message read. "We fight for survival, assistance required." They did not expect a response. The Vierks believed no one outside their cluster would intervene. Humanity, after all, was considered minor, barely noticed in the grand scheme of the galaxy. Humans had not expanded aggressively, had not signed major treaties, and were largely ignored by alien powers. Yet far across the void, the signal reached human space. At first, it was dismissed by the Joint Space Command as a minor anomaly, an unknown species asking for help. Protocol demanded caution, but humans were curious by nature, and curiosity always led to action. Within hours, a reply was sent. It began with a flicker in their long-range sensors, a distortion in hyperspace, then another, and another. Ships, dozens, hundreds, moving in perfect formation, crossing light years in hours. No species they had ever seen could coordinate so quickly. No hyperdrive arrays were this precise. Admiral Kreth of the Vierk's Second Fleet stared at the readings, his mandibles tightening. What is this?" he whispered to no one in particular. "This is not aid, this is a fleet." His officers froze. The Vierk's military doctrine had never accounted for this. Their calculations suggested the human fleet exceeded all known capabilities of minor species. And yet, the ships were not aggressive. Not yet. Across the void, humans watched the Karax attacks unfold in real time. Every sensor on every ship reported the devastation. Dying worlds, burning colonies, fleets obliterated. But the human response was not fear. It was planning. Captain Elia's trainer of the flagship Intrepid Resolve looked at the holographic map in the command room. The Karax were everywhere, yet humanity had the advantage of choice. Humans did not wait for the enemy to strike. They struck in synchronized waves, using their fleet's coordination to predict where the swarm would attack next. "This is not a rescue mission," Trainer said quietly to his officers. "This is a cleanup. We are here to finish what they cannot." And yet no human ship fired a single shot. Not yet. The Vierks did not understand this. They watched through sensors as humans deployed fleets, calculated trajectories, and maneuvered like a single organism. The human fleet was too large, too coordinated, too strange to be just help. Kreth called an emergency meeting. "Admirals, the humans are not sending a small contingent. They are sending a full armada. Every ship on our long-range sensors is theirs. This is unprecedented." A junior officer, trembling, asked, "Admiral, do they know? Do they understand the situation?" Kreth shook his head. "I do not think they care. They believe their presence alone is the answer. That is what terrifies me." The Vierks had never faced a species that treated war like a necessary certainty instead of a gamble. In human history, they had been described as aggressive, but more than that, humans were persistent, adaptable, and fearless. Entire worlds had fallen to them, only for humans to rise again, stronger. The Vierks had heard legends of this, but nothing prepared them for seeing it unfold across the void. Meanwhile, the Karax swarm advanced. Its ships were relentless, hunting Vierk supply lines, devastating colonies. Automated messages from dying worlds came too late. Human sensors picked them all up instantly. Every distress signal, every battle report, every tactical movement was logged. Data fed into the fleet's main system, creating a predictive map of the swarm's behavior. And then, as the Vierks realized the true scope of humanity's response, the first shockwave hit, not from a human attack, but from the sight of the Armada itself. Thousands of ships appeared at once, spanning the edge of Vierk space. The light from their engines illuminated entire sectors, reflecting off asteroid fields, making the Armada look like a second sun. Kreth's advisors panicked. "Admiral, they are massive. Their numbers are beyond our estimates. Our fleet cannot hope to challenge them if they—" "They are not here to challenge us," Kreth interrupted. "They are here to answer a distress call, and we have no idea what that means." Humans had a saying that Trainer remembered from old Earth history books: "We do not send small armies to solve big problems." And now, the Vierks would learn it firsthand. The first human vessels moved into orbit above a beleaguered Vierks colony. No weapons were drawn. No threats were issued. The ships simply positioned themselves in perfect defensive formations, shielding the planet from Karak strikes. Automated drones repaired damage faster than the enemy could destroy it. It was a silent message. Humans were here. Humans had power. Humans did not negotiate. They acted. A Vierks commander finally asked the question on everyone's mind. "We do not ignore calls for help. Not ever." That message, brief and simple, sent shockwaves through the coalition. Humans were polite. Humans were patient. But humans were dangerous when pushed. By the end of the first week, the Vierks realized that the humans did not follow normal patterns. They did not treat the Karaks like an enemy to negotiate with. They treated it like a problem to solve completely. Entire fleets that had been trapped for weeks were freed. Colony defenses were strengthened beyond anything the Vierks thought possible. And through all of it, humans spoke little, acted decisively, and moved with terrifying precision. At night, Kreth stared at the sensors, watching human ships silently orbit every threatened world. The realization sank in. The minor species they had ignored, the species that had never signed major treaties, the species considered small, insignificant, or politically neutral, was now the most powerful force in this sector. And the worst part for the Vierks: they had not fired a single shot. The first part of humanity's arrival had ended. There was no battle yet, no grand explosion, no heroic charge. But the Vierks knew something terrifying. When the humans finally acted, nothing, not the Karaks, not other aliens, not even the laws of physics, could stop them. The Armada had arrived. The Vierks had asked for help. And the humans had answered in their own way. The human Armada had arrived. What the Vierks had expected to be a few ships or engineers had turned into a massive fleet, stretching across sectors like a living river of steel and light. Every ship had a purpose. Every ship moved as if it were aware of every other ship's position. Even the smallest scout vessels maneuvered with the precision of a dreadnought. For the Vierks, it was overwhelming. The humans did not broadcast messages, did not demand territory, and did not attempt to negotiate. They acted, always. Their ships positioned themselves strategically around every vulnerable world, every supply line, every Karak's advance. It was as if the Armada itself had a mind that anticipated every Karak's movement before it even happened. Admiral Kreth's command room was filled with panic. How can this be? How can a minor species do this? His mandibles clicked in frustration. Sensors showed the Karaks advancing, but human ships intercepted them almost before they could reach Vierks colonies. The first wave of attacks was not brutal, at least, not yet. It was surgical. Every Karak's unit that approached was slowed, diverted, or neutralized before it could cause lasting damage. Captain Elia's trainer watched the screens aboard the intrepid Resolve. He did not need to give orders. Human captains across the fleet were trained to read the same data, to anticipate the same threats, and to act without hesitation. Trainer spoke into his communicator. "All wings, maintain formation and hold defensive perimeters. Allow the swarm to make the first move." Record every maneuver. We learn faster when they strike first. The first Karax attack was brutal, but it was also revealing. Swarm tendrils of ships descended upon a medium-sized colony world. Sensors could barely keep up. The Vyerk's fleet was scattered, their defenses broken. But humans did not panic. Carrier groups deployed drones that repaired damaged planetary shields faster than the Karax could destroy them. Fighters swarmed into attack formations, intercepting the swarm with a coordination that no alien species had ever witnessed. From orbit, the human presence was overwhelming. The swarm was used to encountering fragmented resistance, scattered forces, and delayed reinforcements. Humans were different. They moved like a single organism, a calculated, unstoppable machine. And yet, unlike the swarm, humans were adaptable. Each failed attack, each loss, each miscalculation by the enemy was an opportunity to learn. The Vyerks watched in disbelief. Admiral Kreth muttered, "They are learning faster than we can track." Every time the swarm attacks, they adapt. The Karax were smart. They had no morality, no hesitation, no compassion. But even they were not prepared for humans. Human ships did not fight like the Vyerks. They did not retreat. They did not waste resources on indecision. They were willing to take risks others would never consider. Entire battalions were sacrificed if it meant securing the larger objective. And in every case, the sacrifice was calculated. No life, no ship, was lost without purpose. On one colony world, the Karax deployed a strike unit designed to pierce planetary defenses. The Vyerks expected panic, destruction, and inevitable surrender. Instead, human ships formed a perimeter that blocked the attack, while drones and automated platforms repaired damaged infrastructure in real time. Civilians were evacuated efficiently, transported to nearby safe zones without a single casualty. A Vyerk's officer gasped. "They protect civilians during war. Every move they make protects life." "Yes," Kreth replied grimly, "and they destroy the enemy with equal efficiency. For every Karax attack neutralized, the humans adapted. They used predictive algorithms based on past behavior, modeling the swarm's movements and preempting attacks. They set traps, but not in the traditional sense. Entire fleets of humans moved in patterns that channeled the Karax into predictable zones, where drones and precision strikes could dismantle them systematically. It was not a massacre, it was perfect strategy. As the human fleet continued its operations, the Vyerks began to understand another disturbing truth. Humans were not just fighting to save colonies. They were redefining the rules of engagement. Where the Vyerks would defend, humans would advance. Where the Vyerks would hold, humans would conquer. And every action, every movement sent the same message: we are here. We will not fail, and if we do not succeed, we do not stop. The Karax noticed it too. They attacked harder, faster, with units that had been considered elite. Yet humans met them head-on, analyzing, learning, countering, and improving with every encounter. Fleet captains began coordinating maneuvers that seemed impossible to any other species. Ships danced between strikes, anticipating enemy fire and responding with overwhelming precision. Captain Trainer issued a calm command over the fleet: "Deploy interceptors to Grid 5. Evade direct confrontation until the swarm commits. Maintain shields at 90%. Remember, we fight for results, not glory." Unlike the Vyerks, humans did not fight for honor or tradition. They fought for effectiveness. Every engagement had a purpose. Every ship, every fighter, every drone contributed to the victory of the whole. And the Karax could not predict it. Their systems were built to exploit predictable opponents. Humans were unpredictable, adaptive, and relentless. One by one, Karax units fell. Entire strike fleets were neutralized before they could retreat. Planets that would have been destroyed were now fortified, stabilized, and reinforced. And all the while, humans did not pause. They moved to the next system, to the next colony under attack. The Vierks could no longer deny it. Humans were not here to assist. Humans were here to solve the problem completely. Admiral Kreth convened his council. Listen carefully. This is no ordinary species. They do not respond like anyone we know. Every move they make is calculated. Every action has purpose. If they consider a threat, they eliminate it entirely. And yet, they do not demand tribute, they do not conquer, and they do not negotiate. They act, and that is all. A young officer asked, trembling, "Admiral, what do we do? How can we match this?" Kreth shook his head. "We cannot, not yet. We can only observe and hope they do not see us as irrelevant, because if they do, they will act, and nothing will survive their judgment." Meanwhile, humans continued their methodical advance. Every attack by the Karaks taught them something new. Drones recorded data, ships adjusted formations, and commanders shared information faster than the enemy could adapt. The Vierks watched in awe as humans dismantled threats with an efficiency that seemed unnatural. On the front lines, human fighter pilots described it as almost peaceful. Despite the chaos, they knew what to do. Their training, combined with advanced AI and predictive modeling, allowed them to act instinctively. No one questioned orders. No one hesitated. And every victory, every small success fed into the greater strategy. Colonies once on the brink of destruction now flourished under human protection. Supply lines stabilized. Karaks' advances slowed. And the Vierks, who had begged for help, now understood something terrifying. Humanity did not fight for allies. Humanity fought to end threats completely. Captain Traynor gave one final order before moving to the next engagement. Prepare for long-term occupation if necessary. We are not here to leave halfway. We are here to finish what needs finishing. And remember, help is not a favor, it is a responsibility. By the end of the second week, the Vierks began to whisper among themselves. Humans were no longer minor. Humans were no longer unpredictable. Humans were unstoppable when they chose to act. The Karaks had underestimated them. The Vierks had underestimated them. And yet humans did not boast, did not celebrate, did not threaten. They simply acted, with precision, with patience, and with a quiet certainty that no one could challenge. For the first time in centuries, the Vierks realized a truth that chilled them more than any Karaks attack. This was not a battle humans wanted to win. This was a battle humans needed to finish, and they would not stop until it was over. The Armada had revealed itself fully. The galaxy had never seen anything like it. And the swarm, relentless and infinite as it seemed, was about to learn what it meant to face humanity at full strength. The Vierks had never been so confused or so afraid. Every battle, every maneuver, every calculation they made had been anticipated. It was as if the human fleet had already lived through this war and knew its outcome. Yet, it was not just their timing or tactics that unsettled the Vierks. It was the way humans fought, with patience, discipline, and an eerie calm under fire. Captain Elia's trainer observed the Karaks' movements on the holographic display aboard the intrepid Resolve. The swarm had regrouped after suffering devastating losses, adjusting their formations in ways the humans had not anticipated. And yet, humans adapted almost instantly. "Adjust intercept vectors for Grid 7, Trainer ordered. Use decoy drones to pull their spearheads apart. Maintain shield synchronization at 92%, and prepare the secondary strike teams. This engagement will be decisive." The Vierks commanders stared at the screens in disbelief. Secondary strike teams, decoy drones. They had never seen warfare executed with such fluidity and layered complexity. The humans were not just reacting. They were predicting, testing, and teaching themselves at the same time. On one devastated Karaks-occupied world, human engineers deployed orbital platforms not for attack, but to stabilize the planet's core. The surface was scarred with battle, cities were burning, and millions of civilians had fled underground. The platforms repaired energy grids, rebuilt water systems, and strengthened planetary shields, all while the Karax fired relentlessly from orbit. A Vierx officer watching from a nearby command ship muttered, "They are saving life while fighting war." "Yes," Admiral Kreth replied grimly, "and that is what terrifies me. The humans understood something the Vierx never could. War was not just about victory. It was about survival, about enduring the consequences, about making sure that when the battle was over, life, not just victory, continued. Every strike, every maneuver, every sacrifice was calculated not to glorify the fleet, but to protect the innocent and finish the enemy." The Karax soon realized that direct confrontation was futile. Swarm units that had once crushed entire fleets now found themselves trapped in human-devised kill zones. Sensors, decoys, and predictive strike algorithms created patterns the swarm could not comprehend. Fleets were annihilated, but with precision. No human ship was lost unnecessarily, and every destroyed enemy unit fed data back into the human systems for the next engagement. Trainer's voice cut through the command room. "Prepare for boarding operations. Surface units will engage in containment protocols. We do not destroy unnecessarily, but we do not allow the swarm to survive." It was here that humans demonstrated a quality no alien species had fully understood: persistence. While other civilizations might retreat after losses, the humans doubled down. Ships that had been damaged were repaired and returned to the front lines within hours. Fighter squadrons that had been cut down were reinforced, retrained, and redeployed without hesitation. And all of it was coordinated through a command structure that allowed autonomy and initiative at every level. The Vierx could not match it. Their fleets were powerful, their technology advanced, and their strategy had been honed over millennia, but humans had something more: unpredictable brilliance. On the battlefield, the turning point came in the form of a double feint attack. The Karax believed the humans were focusing on a single sector, but Trainer had split the fleet into three groups, each invisible to enemy sensors. One group engaged directly, drawing attention and fire. The second group circled behind, targeting supply lines and communication nodes. The third group, hidden in an asteroid belt, unleashed a surprise assault from an unexpected angle. The result was catastrophic for the Karax. Their command networks were disrupted. Strike units turned on each other in confusion. Entire fleets were trapped. And the humans, they remained calm, executing maneuvers with a precision that left even their own crews in awe. "Status report," Trainer asked. "All units report full operational capability," replied Lieutenant Mara Chen. "Enemy losses exceed projections by 72%. Civilian casualties are 0. Trainer nodded. "Good. Prepare for planetary stabilization. And send the survivors a message. We are here to end this, and we will not stop until it is done." The Vierx watched, jaws dropped. The humans were not only defeating the swarm, they were teaching the Vierx how to fight in real time. Advanced Vierx ships, once considered elite, were now operating under human instruction, learning tactics they had never imagined. Humans did not demand obedience, they demonstrated, and the results were undeniable. In orbit above another Karax-held world, human diplomats addressed the Vierx Council via secure channel. Trainer spoke calmly, even politely. "We are not here for glory. We are here because you called for help. But understand this: our methods may appear harsh to your eyes. They are necessary. The swarm must be eliminated, not contained. Delay only increases the cost." Kreth's jaw clicked. "You do not fight like anyone we know. You do not retreat. You do not surrender." "Why?" Trainer's answer was simple. "Because we never have. Because we believe that leaving a threat alive is worse than facing it fully. Because when we asked for help once, no one came. We do not repeat that mistake." Meanwhile, the Karax scrambled to adjust. They tried feints, ambushes, and rapid maneuvers. But humans adapted instantly. using real-time simulations and predictive algorithms combined with centuries of historical insight. Even unexpected attacks were countered. Fleets that had once seemed unstoppable were torn apart, trapped by human foresight and creativity. The human fleet also began to incorporate the Vierks forces into their operations. No hierarchy, no arrogance. Humans and Vierks ships operated together, coordinated through a shared understanding of strategy and timing. And every time the Vierks executed a maneuver correctly, humans rewarded it, not with praise, but by demonstrating even better tactics, allowing the Vierks to see the full potential of their own forces. On the surface of a liberated colony, humans worked alongside Vierks engineers to repair cities, restore water, and stabilize agriculture. Civilians watched in awe as humans coordinated fleets and ground forces seamlessly, always calm, always precise. The message was clear. Humanity fights to end threats, not for conquest, not for politics, and not for fame. And then the ultimate turning point came. Humans launched a coordinated strike at the Karak's central nexus. Using intelligence gathered over weeks, predictive modeling, and strategic deception, the human fleet bypassed most of the swarm's defenses, striking directly at the core of its operations. The attack was devastating. Swarm units collapsed, command systems were destroyed, and communications between distant nodes were severed. For the first time, the Karaks were on the defensive. Across the Vierks command, the realization hit hard. Humans were not just helping, they were changing the balance of the entire war. Their methods were unlike anything the Vierks had trained for, anything their technology could anticipate. And still, humans did not stop. They did not celebrate. They simply continued moving toward the next threat, toward the next challenge, toward the final goal: eliminate the swarm entirely. Admiral Kreth leaned back, exhausted. "I thought we knew war," he murmured. "I thought we understood strategy, but we have only seen the surface. Humanity, they fight in ways no one else does." And Captain Traynor aboard the intrepid Resolve gave one last command for the day: maintain pressure. We do not give them a chance to recover. We finish this war and we do it cleanly. The swarm will learn what persistence means. The galaxy will remember who we are. The Armada had revealed its true purpose. Humanity did not just answer a call for help, they were the reckoning. The Karaks had underestimated them. The Vierks had underestimated them. And the galaxy would never see another species fight the way humans did. In the silence of space, as fleets repositioned and systems recalibrated, one truth was undeniable. Humanity's way of war was relentless, adaptive, and unyielding. And when the humans decided the swarm would be defeated, nothing, not logic, not firepower, not fear, could stop them. The galaxy had reached a turning point. The humans had taken control, not with arrogance but with competence, courage, and calculated resolve. And as the first sectors began to stabilize, the Vierks understood something they had never considered. Humans were not just soldiers. Humans were a force of nature, a species that acted fully when they chose to act, and they never quit until the job was done. The galaxy held its breath. After weeks of relentless engagement, the Karak swarm was broken, but not yet destroyed. Entire sectors were scarred, worlds had been abandoned, and fleets of every species were exhausted. Yet the human armada pressed forward, unwavering. To humans, this was not about glory or recognition. It was about finishing what had been started, ending the swarm completely so no other civilization would ever have to suffer again. Captain Elia's Traynor stood on the bridge of the intrepid Resolve, eyes scanning the stars. Every flicker of Karak's movement was recorded, mapped, and analyzed. The humans had tracked the swarm to its final stronghold, a cluster of dark, dead worlds on the edge of known space. The Vierks, who had begged for help, now followed the human fleet with a mixture of awe and fear. Admiral Kreth could not hide his astonishment. "They do not hesitate. They do not fear loss. They do not question their orders. And yet they still manage to protect life, all life, not just their own. The humans were methodical. Their strategy involved multiple layers: orbital assaults, planetary strikes, drone swarms, and predictive blockade maneuvers. Every attack was coordinated across light years in perfect synchronization. Every human ship, no matter how small, was part of a single, unified effort. Trainer's voice cut through the bridge. Prepare the final assault teams. This is the moment we remove the swarm entirely. Target their command nodes and central processors. Avoid unnecessary planetary damage. We are ending the threat, not creating more. For the Vierks, watching humans operate was like witnessing a force of nature. The aliens had experienced war for millennia, yet nothing prepared them for human persistence. Entire fleets had been destroyed before the swarm could react, yet the humans showed no hesitation, no fear, no panic. On the surface of a Karax-controlled world, human ground units coordinated with orbital support to neutralize automated defenses. Civilian structures were repaired even as battle raged. Mines were cleared, energy grids restored, and evacuation routes secured. The humans were not conquerors, they were saviors with a purpose. The final battle began in earnest. The Karax Central Nexus, a massive cluster of biomechanical constructs, loomed in space like a dark star. Tens of thousands of swarm units swarmed around it, defending it to the death. But the human fleet had anticipated every movement. Strike teams advanced from multiple angles, decoys misled enemy sensors, and orbital bombardments targeted only strategic systems. The Vierks could not believe their eyes. Elite swarm units, previously unstoppable, fell before human tactics. Ships that had evaded entire fleets were caught in calculated traps. And all the while, humans maintained minimal casualties, prioritizing the lives of allies and innocents over destruction. "Bridge report," Trainer commanded. Lieutenant Mara Chen responded. "Enemy command nodes neutralized. Swarm coordination collapsing." Civilian casualties remained zero. Human fleet fully operational. A ripple of disbelief ran through the Vierks command. Humans were winning not by brute force alone, but through efficiency, precision, and unrelenting strategy. On the final Karax world, Trainer led the last boarding teams. Humans moved like shadows, coordinated with drones and strike squads, cutting through defenses with minimal loss. Every step, every decision was calculated to dismantle the swarm without creating more suffering than necessary. The swarm, once arrogant and unstoppable, now faced its first true defeat. Its automated units malfunctioned under human interference, command chains collapsed, and isolated tendrils of the swarm became vulnerable. Humanity was relentless. They did not tire. They did not pause. Finally, the central processor of the swarm, the heart of its hive mind, was located. A small human strike team moved in, armed with precise disruption devices that neutralized the swarm's control networks without destroying the worlds themselves. "Processor neutralized," Trainer reported. "The swarm will not regroup." The Vierks fleet observed the aftermath in stunned silence. Entire sectors that had been lost to the Karax were now free. Colonies once doomed were stabilized, supplies restored, civilians rescued. And the humans, though victorious, did not claim territories, did not impose rules, and did not demand tribute. They had finished the job and nothing more. Admiral Kreth finally spoke to Trainer through a secure channel. "Why? Why go to such lengths? Why risk so much for a species you barely know?" Trainer's response was simple, calm, and firm. For the Vierks, it was a lesson in humility. For the galaxy, it was a lesson in fear, respect, and admiration. Humanity had arrived not as conquerors, but as an unstoppable force willing to act when others could not. The aftermath was profound. Entire civilizations began to reconsider what it meant to fight alongside humans. Treaties were rewritten, alliances restructured. The Vierks, who had once been proud warriors, now worked alongside humanity, learning tactics, strategy, and philosophy of engagement. They were careful to never underestimate humans again. Traynor stood on the bridge, staring at the stars. The fleet had suffered losses, ships destroyed, brave pilots gone, but the war was over. And in that silence there was a quiet triumph. The humans had not sought fame, but they had earned it. They had not sought glory, but they had proven their place in the galaxy. A Vierk's elder approached Kreth. They are different, not like any species we have known. They do not fight for themselves alone. They fight for all. And yet they are terrifying. Kreth nodded slowly. Yes, they fight to finish what others cannot. They fight with purpose, with patience, and with courage. They fight like humans. As the Armada began to withdraw, leaving behind reconstruction fleets and defense networks for the liberated worlds, Traynor addressed the Vierks one last time. We do not occupy. We do not claim. We leave systems stronger than we found them. Call us if you ever need help again, but know this: when humanity arrives, the problem will never return. The message echoed across the galaxy. Humans were now a species to be respected, feared, and admired. Not because of their firepower alone, but because of their resolve, ingenuity, and unwillingness to leave threats alive. In the quiet after the war, the Vierks began to understand the full meaning of the human arrival. They had asked for help, expecting a small hand. Instead, humanity had delivered a reckoning, reshaping the fate of entire sectors. And the galaxy would never look at calls for help, or at humans, the same way again. The stars burned silently as fleets of human ships jumped to the next assignment, leaving behind worlds that were free, alive, and stronger than ever. The galaxy had been changed, not by conquest, not by politics, but by the sheer, unyielding force of human will. Captain Traynor looked out at the stars, calm, composed, yet aware of the cost. "We answer calls for help," he said quietly. "That is who we are. That is who humanity has always been, and we will not stop." The human armada disappeared into hyperspace, leaving a galaxy that would remember them forever. The Vierks had learned something critical. When humans arrive, the answer is not small. The answer is total, complete, and irreversible. The galaxy had called for help, and humanity had arrived, and everything had changed.